Welcome to each and every one of you. My name is Nicoline Roux, and I will do the bulk of the introductions from the AISI side today. Just going to start my video. You guys can see, hi, this is me, and we're calling from the CSIR or from Pretoria. We're working from home still. Just an indication, I hope all of you can hear me. If somebody can give me a thumbs up, or just an indication in the chat box. Okay, so on the screen, you guys should see the agenda that we're going to follow for today. I'm just going to go through it before we start with the official welcome and introductions. So we're going to officially start with welcome and introductions in about 3 minutes, which is about 1:05. Then we're going to go into what is the Marine Program and what does it offer. Then we're going to follow with a brief presentation from the dtic, talking about the marine industry. We're going to have our first Q&A session on the topics that were already discussed. Then we're going to have a short break at 2 o'clock. And then after that break, we are going to go into beneficiary testimonials. First off, Sabik Atlas Defense, followed by Nkosi Fendile. Then we're going to have our first breakout session where we are going to discuss, similar to if we had an industry day, we will give each of you the time to participate with other people from industry. Then we're going to have another beneficiary called Polyfix, followed by a short break. And then after the break, we're going to have AR Jones doing their presentation, followed by our second breakout session, a Q&A session, as well as closure. Okay, thank you everybody for the chats. You can see there's a few chats coming in. And we've almost reached 40 participants. Just going to give it 1 more minute and then I'll go over to the welcomes and introductions. Okay, I just received word that the DTIC is still trying to get onto the call. So we will just wait for them another minute. But in the meantime, I will start just showing the presentation. You can just put in presentation mode. And we will just wait for confirmation that they are on the call, and then we will officially kick off this industry day. Okay, it doesn't seem like DTIC is on yet, but their presentation is only after the introduction. So I'm going to kick off this industry day. Welcome to each and every one of you that took the time off to join us in today's industry day. This is the first official industry day for the Marine Program, and therefore we're delighted to see 42 participants already on this call. So thank you very much. And I hope today's session would be informative and tell you exactly what you need to know about the program, what you want to know about the program, and showcase the beneficiaries that we have on the call. On my screen, I'm sharing with you the presentation. So first off, let's go through the first introduction slides. So we've already done the welcome. I was hoping to have the DTIC online at the moment to go through a brief set of introductions, but they'll also be doing a presentation later on where they'll introduce themselves. My name is Nicoline Roux. Hi, Yolandi.
Hi, sorry, Nicoline. Bianca is online.
Okay, excellent. I don't see Andrew on here yet, but I'm sure Bianca will take over for Andrew if he doesn't reach up. Otherwise, we can just postpone that section until he's ready. I see he's just joined. Hi, Andrew, can you hear us? Okay, never mind. We will get there when we give the DTIC time to do their presentation. So again, my name is Nicoline Roux. From the AISI side, I am the project manager, the program manager, and I am the main interface and interaction with all of our beneficiaries. With me on the call, I've got Marie Botha, Erik Bachmann, and Yolandi Oosthuizen. They are also with the AISI. I will just give Marie Botha and Erik just time to introduce themselves, because if you are involved in the program, you will also get to know them. Marie is the AISI program manager. Marie, Erik, you don't need to share your video, but if you can just quickly say hi to everybody on the call.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Marie Buerta. I am responsible for the Aerospace Industry Support Initiative, the AISI. It's an initiative of the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition. You guys, thanks for joining us on this. And we really appreciate your feedback and input into how we implement this program on behalf of government. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Eric Bachmann. I'm a colleague of Nicolene. I became involved with the marine program fairly recently, and I try to focus on especially designated components. Thank you.
Thanks. And then Yolandi is our support. I'm not going to put her on the spot to say hi, but she is definitely in the background of everything that goes on in the program. Okay, so that's introduction from an AISI side. Then a few house rules. Everybody can remain muted until we get to question and Q&A sessions. It's better to keep your cameras off or to save some bandwidth to make sure that we have as least as possible hiccups during this industry day. And then depending on the presenters, all interaction should be left until the end of the presentations. But I do know some of the presenters is going to have an interactive presentation. So if they say you're allowed to, you can raise your hand or have an active communication with them. Secondly, there's extra CPD points that can be claimed for attending this session. So it's 0.3 points that you can claim. All that you need to do is you post your name and your surname with your EXA registration number in the chat, or email Yolandi in the same email you used to RSVP for this email. And then the last thing is the session is being recorded. Okay, without further ado, I will start the presentation. As we mentioned, it's the Marine Virtual Industry Day and the first of its kind. In today's presentation, I am going to go through the CSR introduction. I'm going to tell you a little bit of the AISI, which is the Aerospace Industry Support Initiative, the Marine Program, the project supported by the Marine Program, companies supported by the program, as well as the way forward. So first off, the Council of Science and Industrial Research. It's a leading scientific research and technology development organization in Africa. In partnership with national and international research and technology institutions, the CSR undertakes to direct and multidisciplinary research and technology innovation that contributes to the improvement of the quality of lives of all South Africans. Just a few of the CSR's official slides. The mandate, the objectives of the CSR is to foster in the national interest on the field, which is, in its opinion, should receive preference, industrial and scientific development, either by itself or cooperation with principles from the private or public sectors, and thereby to contribute to the improvement of the quality of lives of the people of the Republic and to perform any other functions that may be assigned to the CSR by or under this Act. The vision, we are accelerators of socioeconomic prosperity in South Africa through leading innovation, and our mission is to collaboratively innovate and localize technologies while providing knowledge solutions for the inclusive and sustainable advancements of industry and society. We also administer growth, impact, sustainability, as well as relevance. Our goals are to conduct research, development, innovation, to collaborate, improve and competitiveness of high impact industries to support South Africans' reindustrialization, to drive socioeconomic transformation through R&D, to build and transform human capital and infrastructure, to diversify income and maintain financial sustainability and good governance. Within the CSR, we've got several clusters and all of them displayed here on the screen. I'm not going to go through each and every one of them, but you're very welcome to visit the CSR website for more information. This brings me to the AISI, the Aerospace Industry Support Initiative. It falls under the Industry Connect within the manufacturing cluster of the CSR, which is under future productions. The AISI is an initiative of the DTIC, so the whole program is led by the DTIC. The AISI is hosted and managed by the CSR and has a specific aim to industrial development. Other industries that the AISI also supports are aerospace, space, defense, and as well for this presentation, maritime. This brings me to the Marine Program. The full name for the Marine Program is the Marine Manufacturing, Maintenance and Repairs and Associated Services Development Program. The program was kicked off in 2019 with the main aim to assist the marine manufacturing industry to overcome challenges, to build local capabilities and technology solutions, and to enhance global competitiveness along the full supply chain in the marine industry. The program was initiated to address the increased amount of exemption requests received by the DTIC from the designated marine industry. The program is focused on marine manufacturing, which is very important as that's the basis of all of the support that we provide. Then we get this question a lot, what is the designated marine industry? So in 2014, the National Treasury approved the designation of locally built working vessels for public procurement. The directive is binding to all government departments at national, provincial, and municipal level and all state-owned industries. So designation says that the specifications is stipulated minimum threshold percentage required for all local production and content in respect to working vessels, saying that 60% of the local vessels must have a local content threshold. Government aims to create a more enabling environment for the marine manufacturing industry. So that is the aim of designation. And then it's also important to know that there's provisions for the importation of components that is not produced in South Africa. And that is where exemption requests come into play. This is a list of the targeted component list, which comes from the designated list. The components in bold is what we focus on at the moment, but not limited to, because we think there's a great capability and capacity to actually locally manufacture these components. You can go through this list on your own time, but for now, I'm just going to focus on valves, bathroom units, insulation material, firefighting systems, davits, application processes, and manufacturing of paints and coatings. But there's several others as well. Then we get to the initiatives that's offered under the program. There are two. First off, standards and accreditations, and secondly, technology enhancement. Let's start off with the standards and accreditation. The aim under this initiative is to assist beneficiaries to address certifications and compliance issues. The absence of standards and certifications could limit a company's ability to partake in the supply chain of procuring organizations, as well as to get into the market of local and international ships. Then marine certifications that we do support are marine, such as your classification society certifications, for example, your IOX affiliated certifications, type approval, MED certifications, and then other marine certifications such as SAMHSA, SAPS, CE, and so forth. What's really important to understand in accreditation is that when companies apply, they've got a good understanding of the exact support that they require. Otherwise, we can help assist them to do some research and then just to understand exactly what is the support required. The second initiative is technology enhancement, where we provide assistance to marine manufacturers for either testing and validation of new technology or technology transfer to a beneficiary. And secondly, to support will assist suppliers to enter new markets or enhance existing markets. Examples of the support under the technology enhancement for 2020, it was a ship ballast water treatment system project, and that's the photo that you also see, where Cybercom Atlas Defense developed a mobile ship ballast water treatment system. More on this a bit later when they'll do a presentation. And then in 2021, it was carbon fiber hydrofoil project by SAMCD. So how do you become part of the program and how does it work? So how do you apply? First of all, I'll explain to you how the expression of interest works, which is the main method we use to identify companies for the standards and accreditations. I'll go through the process, then I'll quickly discuss the qualifying organizations, what type of funding and the amount of funding that's available, and then how long should the programs last, the duration of the programs, in other words. I just got a comment from somebody that said that they can't see the presentation. Joe mentioned that. Is there anybody else that's got a problem with the visual? If you guys can just type for me. Okay, Yolanda indicated she can see the presentation. Joe, I would recommend if you can quickly shut down your computer and then restart it. Just try and reconnect again. Thanks, Eugene and Paul. Okay, I hope you get right, Joe. Just let us know if there's an issue, but I think if you try to rejoin with the link, it should solve the problem. So first off, let's start with the process. Following the processions, we review them. Once they're approved, they go to a panel and we prioritize the interventions. From there, we agree on the terms of the beneficiary, so more than one company could be successful. From there, we obtain a service provider. The service provider agrees to deliverable, saying, okay, in stage 1, we're going to do X, stage B, we're going to do Y. And from there, we just monitor the program to make sure that all objectives are reached and achieved. Then who qualifies for the standards and accreditations? Any organization that's currently or could in the future be part of the marine system or component manufacturer, as well as the marine associated service providers eligible to submit an expression of interest. What is important is you must be a South African registered company. Then both large organizations as well as SMEs are eligible, although preference will be given to SMEs. And the bulk of the companies that we do support currently are SMEs. What the company will need is a valid BEE certificate, a valid SARS tax clearance certificate that clearly states good standing. And then there's just a definition of an SME. And then the funding that's available for standards and accreditations. The average budget per beneficiary is about 350, although it's not limited. If the support does go above 400,000, we do require co-funding. And then the amount of co-funding is different for SMEs and non-SMEs. And the limit from the beneficiary is open-ended. So if support is needed for example, say 1 million, although the AISI will only support up to a certain gap, then the rest of the remaining money could be matched or even more provided by the beneficiary. These projects normally should be completed within a 12-month period. Then we get to the technology enhancement project, which is mainly done by call for proposals, but this can change depending on the program and the status thereof. So I'm going to discuss again the process. Then I'm going to look at companies that qualify, the funding that's available, and the duration again. On the right of your screen, you can see examples of the hydrofoils, which was part of the last technology enhancement project that was manufactured. Those are actually 3 prototypes. So the process is a little bit more complicated because there's more funding or more funding that's available. First off, a call for proposals is issued. It's evaluated. If the company is unsuccessful, they're informed. If they are successful, they go to the next step of evaluation, which is the critical factors. From there, their applications are characterized for distribution to the technical review committee. So here we've got a panel of experienced engineers and other industry experts where we actually review case by case or proposal by proposal to select the most appropriate project to support. So the panel then reviews and scores individually. From there, if they're successful, they go to the evaluation of the transformation related factors. They're scored, and from there, they're scored on transformation, which should be EU percentage Black owned, percentage Black women owned, as well as percentage youth owned. And then that score is used to rank the companies by, from 1 till 5 or 1 to 10, depending on the number of applications that went through. From there, we inform the successful applicant or applicants. We prepare and sign contracts, service providers, deliverables is agreed, and objectives identified. And from there, we monitor until we've got the required outcome for the project. Then let's look again who qualifies for the program. This is similar in some ways to standards and accreditation, but there's a few additional points that we just need to list. So again, any organization that's currently or could be in the marine environment. Secondly, both large organizations as well as SMEs, but preference will be given to SMEs. Companies will need a valid BEE certificate. They'll also need a SARS tax clearance certificate of good standing. Then the 2 additional rules that apply for the technology enhancement project are manufacturers that are currently receiving support from the same requested interventions from other South African government departments or international organizations will not be considered for support. And then secondly, companies that have received support from the Marine Technology Enhancement Intervention over the past 3 years will not be considered. After the timeline of 3 years have lapsed, the same company can apply again. So the funding that's available for technology enhancement is a maximum of 750. It can be split between smaller projects. So if 2 companies, one company wants 300,000 and the second company wants 450, then there can be 2 projects. But if it's also just one big project for the whole amount, then it will only be 1 project that's supported per year. Now, co-funding for all the technology enhancement projects is a requirement, and it also differs from SMMEs to non-SMMEs. SMMEs are required to support at least 10% of the total project amount. Non-SMMEs are required to co-fund at least 25% of the full project amount. Funding can be used for international or for internal and external project running costs, project man-hour, training, development, engineering support, or other similar costs. And then what's very important is funding cannot be used for capital expenditure, such as the purchase of equipment or software. Then these projects should also have a duration of 12 months. Then we get to the current projects that's either being supported by the AISI's marine program or that's in the pipeline of being supported. So on this table, you've got on the left-hand side, you've got the components, and on the right-hand side, you've got the services. So components that's being supported, butterfly valves, successfully. We have supported Bell Technologies to be the first marine butterfly valve certified company in South Africa. Valve position indicators, as well as life jackets, are in the pipeline to be certified. Then components, as this being our main target, that's pending or that we will be looking to certify in the next year, is insulation materials, pilot ladders, automated actuator packages, gate valves, globe valves, and seals. Then services related to the marine industry and specifically related to manufacturing that we are currently in progress or that we've already helped to get certification for is IACS welding procedures, non-destructive testing, ISOs. Very important is you see the asterisks for the ISO 9001, 14001, and 5001. The AISI no longer only supports those 3 ISOs because it is in contrast with what CEDA already does if it's a SMME. So we just refer companies to CEDA for support very successfully, and CEDA has helped us a lot with this. We're very thankful. But if it's a marine-specific ISO, you can still apply through the program. Then as well as working in confined spaces related to marine chemists and the testing of tanks before any maintenance and repairs can be done on ships. Torpedo, Banksman, Slinger, and Grego certifications, Carissa marine coating technology, and offshore corrosion assessment training, specifically for the marine industry. And then services spending in the future is SAQCC, painting and blasting, non-destructive testing, as well as several other welding certifications. So this is what we are currently working on. Then companies supported through the program. At the moment, we've got 14 contracted beneficiaries, and it's all of these that you can see on the screen. 4 of these beneficiaries will also be presenting to you today to tell you a little bit more of the program and their experience throughout the program. Just to give you an indication of where the geographic spread of the industry and the marine industry and the sub-companies that we support. So we are not at all limited to a certain area. We've got 3 companies in Gauteng, 1 company in KwaZulu-Natal, 2 companies in the Eastern Cape, 8 companies in the Western Cape. So this is our current spread. And just a little bit of impact that we're reporting back from the previous financial year. So we had 1 technology development or advancements of existing technology. We had 3 high-skilled jobs retained due to the AISI intervention. We've got 13 SMMEs involved in projects. We had 7 standards and accreditations that we supported and 5 new systems and certifications. So every year we are trying to improve this amount and to increase our impact. So what is the way forward? The program has a focus on marine manufacturing. Very important. It's our drive and our center of the program. A targeted approach is followed for standards and accreditations for the current financial year. This means that we are focusing on the designated component list to get those components certified and accredited for international and local use. In the next financial year, we will publish calls again to identify new companies to participate in the program. For technology enhancement, we had a call open that closed on the 16th of November, and we are pleased to say that we're still going through the evaluation, but we have received quite a few applications. Then also we will focus on our pipeline companies. These are support that's not yet contracted, but that we are working towards getting contracted and applying the certification within the next year. This is pilot ladders that's being manufactured and certification is pending, non-destructive testing certification, welding certifications, position indicator switch boxes, seals, insulation material, valves, and in paint manufacturers. Also, the way forward, in the last financial year, a few months ago, we had our first webinar on the 27th of September. It was called Services Offered by IAC Societies, where we had a speaker from DNV that came and presented on the services that they offered. And there will, again, in the next financial year, or even in the next year, be more webinars hosted by similar companies or similar societies. So I really call to you guys that you attend these webinars in the future, and we will send out invitations to everybody on our database. So if you received the invitation for today's industry day, you will receive it as well for the webinars. Then industry days, this is the first one, but it will hopefully not be the last. Look out for more industry days in 2022. So hopefully these will not be virtual and we will meet in person, but time permitting and COVID permitting, we will see how this goes. The aim of today's industry day is to promote the program through the delivering testimonials from beneficiaries and providing breakout sessions for companies to network. So there will be 2 breakout sessions today. We will give you the opportunity to still, as an industry, meet and greet each other. So what is our way forward for 2022? So we want to grow the program. We want to publish calls and identify new beneficiaries to support new projects. We want to drive localization within the marine manufacturing industry. We want to decrease exemption requests through local manufacturing, especially through the standards and accreditations, to give companies the competitive edge and to make impact within the marine manufacturing industry. We want to create jobs. We want to develop skills and human capital. We want to drive innovation and localization. We want to achieve export capability and import substitutions. And lastly, support and drive the support of SMEs. That is it from the marine program and the AISI slides. Let me just see how we're doing for time. Okay, great. At this point, I would like to give over to the DTIC. Andrew, I think you are on, and then there's a question and answer session. All of you can post it if you've got a question, post it in the chat, and we can have a discussion after the DTIC presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nicolene. Thanks for I don't know if I will be able to share my presentation, but I've sent it to you. If you can help me just to present to show it on the screen. I don't know if you received it.
Hi, Andrew, just bear with me while I quickly grab it. Got it.
Please, I will appreciate it. You can just present for me.
Okay, it's just loading. Okay, Andrew, tell me if you can see it.
Thank you. I can see it. Much appreciated. Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, colleagues. It's a pleasure just to be able to take part in this presentation. Thanks to John. I can see John Andrew Cock. That's great. Okay, I don't know. Oh, yeah, okay. I think now it's okay. Thanks so much. My presentation will consist of an introduction, yes, background. I will speak also some levers which can be used for the development of the industry. I will speak also to some progress to date. After that, I will present our actual program, which we are going through this time, and some challenges which we are facing. Later on, I will speak to our strategic partners or partnership we are working with just to achieve some few things in our industry, rationale behind the accreditation program. Thank you. Next page. Okay, just to introduce the industry as such, the Marine Manufacturing Development Program. We have a long name, but we'd like to keep it. Sometimes we call it just marine manufacturing, but it's also we call it marine manufacturing and associated services. It consists of boat building, shipbuilding, ship and rig maintenance and repairs, and also the manufacturing of marine components. That's one area which we'll talk to, but both the four sections are part of the marine manufacturing. When you speak of marine manufacturing, please just you can see the four components or subsectors which make the industry. Next. Now, as background, in 2011, the Industrial Policy Action Plan, which we normally call IPEP in short, identified ship and boat building as a priority sector. And from there, it became a focus from the DTI. We consider the sector, because of its contribution to the economy, as a very important sector, which we have to focus, and also the size or its nature of as a labor-intensive sector. We feel that any impact in that sector, which has a lot of strong and extended linkages across industries, could have an impact. Any growth in the industry affect or pull in its growth a number of sectors around, which that's why even the focus on associated services. We also consider that the lifespan of a vessel is 25 to 30 years. Therefore, maintenance and repairs become key, because for 25 years, there are spares to be replaced, there are parts to be replaced, and we said that should be also our focus. And with that, we designated the sector, the working vessels, for local procurement. I mean, any vessel which is procured by a state-owned company or any department, government department, all the government entities should be manufactured locally. Some of the spares can be imported, but the manufacturing of the vessel should be local. And one of the things which we stated, it was 60% of local content. And if you read the instruction note on designation, you'll see that there is even a list of components which we say that it should be 100% local. Some are not yet localized. In other words, they are not. There is no capacity locally. Some there is capacity, but it's not. They are not marine accreditation accredited. They are not marine accredited. But we see that it's possible to have to develop those capacity locally. That's why they are designated for 100% local. Next page. Some of the levers which can be used for the development of the marine manufacturing industry, which we call opportunities which can be created through this industry, include localization, the tariff. With tariff, what we see to make a difference between a component which is imported knockdown to be assembled locally and a component which is fully imported. We look also to things like industrial financing, because this sector is quite a different from any other sector. Because just by its nature, you have an order today, you have to take a year or two for you to complete the construction, but you have to pay upfront the construction of the vessel. The industry, the company, if the order must take the cost of the manufacturing. And most of the banks, commercial banks, they consider the industry as a risky. And they are, even the financial institutions, the developmental financial institutions sometimes consider the sector as a risky, and they are risk averse themselves. Then it's become like a no-go zone. There we have this financial program just to advocate a way of assessing risk for the industry. We look also to competition. Standard accreditation, one of our programs, which we'll talk to today toward the end, and skills development. In this industry, The average age, as we'll see, as among the challenges, 55 years of skilled people in the industry, which make it's not very much an attractive industry for young people. And we see skilled people, they are towards the end of their career, and not having in the pipeline new blood coming and take over, which we feel that's quite a serious problem. Some of the programs also include innovation and technology, incentives, export promotion, market access. We focus for the African region. This is quite a huge market. You see that Africa, sometimes they jump South Africa to import things which can be produced in South Africa, which is one of the things which we are working on, just to have the industry itself have access to the region market. Thank you. The next one. Among the things we have already achieved include, we have a clear plan, which we call Marine Manufacturing Development Plan Program, which gives our strategy for the sector and how we have to go about it. Some are still in the pipeline, some we are already implementing, but the plan as such is already conceived and used as reference, even when you assist to master plan on the ocean economy, you'll see that the side of the marine manufacturing is one of the documents consulted. We have designated the sector, as I said earlier on, for local procurement at 60% of local content, which is quite a support really for the industry, because the market is guaranteed whenever there is a procurement from government, it will be locally manufactured. And then you have the certification and accreditation program of components, because we need this local component to be supplied to the marine manufacturing industry. For that, there are some requirements which are marine class accreditation, which is required. We have a program called Skill Development Program, which is in support of the industry. As we said, this industry, the age of skilled workers is quite advanced, 55 years, it's quite worrying for the industry. We have a program which we intervene, and it's still running. I think it will be completed, this wave will be completed in March 2022. And we have our inbound mission, just because of movement restriction due to COVID-19, we have put a bit the program on ice, waiting for better period, but we're working on it. It's to attract potential buyers in the country, to have to be in touch with the local product, and see how this can work out. Next page, please. Yes, among the program which we are focusing now, I think I've just already mentioned, include what you call the localization of the demand, to ensure that the procuring entities in their planning, we know ahead what they have planned, so that the industry can get ready. This is a way of even the component themselves, the components which are used in the industry for the manufacturing of vessels, can be to have a sort of a guarantee for markets, so that people can invest into production of those components locally. The accreditation and certification program, which I think Nicolene spoke intensively on them. It's one of our program which we feel strongly that it will help the local industry to be able to supply to the marine manufacturing industry. And the industrial financing program, I think I spoke to it. Skill development, I spoke to it. Innovation and the innovation framework. We developed an innovation framework and shared with the industry, quite a very ambitious program But in a way, we are working in it in various sub-programs like the certification and the accreditation program, which support technology innovation, which we feel strongly that it's one of the things which will support it in line with our innovation framework. Infrastructure, which among others, we consider TNPA mostly key to this program, how they can invest in support for marine manufacturing, where we have things like access to waters, the lease for shipyards to be considered for a longer period, and so on and so forth. You have also access to African markets, which we think it's more a bilateral or multilateral relation with different countries, which means that our diplomacy should play a big role in that one. And the transformation of the industry to have new, young, female, and black to enter also in the space of this industry, which is quite a difficult one because of the capital requirement for the startup, quite a difficult industry just due to capital. The next one. Yes, our strategic partnership, we work with industry associations, we work with CSIR, we work with SAMSA, SABS, and the accreditation component like BV and Lloyd. We work for the skills with SAIMI, we have with Volkswagen College. Those among our partners, just to be able to achieve in this program. Next one. Is some of the challenges you are facing includes, it's quite difficult to cluster in this industry just because of the size, and you can't have a physical location of the industry so that we can reduce on the distance. To create a virtual clustering, something we are thinking of, so that people can be informed on all components around the industry and all activities which can complement each other instead of importing, instead of using external companies, but local which are available. Also, it's another challenge is the age of the workforce. I think I spoke to it, the 55 years, and that's why we are involved also in skills training. We feel also strongly that the benefit of designation should trickle down into the value chain. Sometimes it's quite a problem because of requirements, mainly in marine standard, which is quite costly, and we are missing out a number of components on that one. Also, some projects, mostly government projects, when they have, after a tender, it's given to one of the shipyards for signing, and start from the signing to those detailed agreements to have the project start on or to kick off. It takes too long, sometimes even a year or two. We feel that it impacts negatively on the industry. Those are among our challenges. Next one. Yes, the transformation of the industry, we said it's a white and male-dominated industry because of the cost of just capital to start. It's quite a difficult one to transform this industry. The cost is quite huge. As I said, the tariff, when we see the knockdown component, there is no incentive which it becomes even beneficial for someone to import a full component or full engine than to every component knockdown to come and assemble them locally, because the cost, the tariff, it's higher when you use the knockdown component. It's one of the things we are looking at. It's quite discouraging. While as we'd like things to come and be assembled locally, I feel it's working against our incentive, our programs. Next. I think one of the things, maybe I should just talk to it because of time. I don't know how I'm doing on time. I don't know how many minutes I'm remaining. Please, Nicole, if you can tell me, you can just say, I'm still on time. But just on accreditation program, as it's one of the program we plan really to assist a number of companies. Nicole has mentioned what we have already achieved. But the main thing is that the list of components that are required to be exempted is getting longer and longer. And the only reason is the cost of certification. And that's why we're playing a big role and try to support those companies. And the thing is that we have a capability locally, because the many industries are supplying to different industries like mining, the defense, they are using the same component. But because of marine requirements, because underwater, the environment changes, how to cover it, there are quite a number of requirements so that it's cut also for the marine. Just that step to have marine accredited, the cost is too high, and that's why we feel that we should have this program. It's quite a program which can have local industry having to play a role also in components, which will, for now, it can be for the local markets, but in the long run, it will also cover the export markets, which the African region and the world. We feel strongly that this program will be a great success. Next one. Yes, basically, I've mentioned it, we look to have an import substitution so that the components we are importing are locally produced, because the market is the South African market and the taxpayer money. We have to use it strategically so that we support other industries in that in the process. And also this can attract investment in the sector. When there is a market guarantees, an investor will see that it gives a rationale to invest, because there is market already for the product. And this can expand to the rest of Africa because of the proximity. I think that this basically was what I prepared just to talk to in this program. I hope it has helped. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrew. We actually do have a few questions for you. We can start with that, and then I'll go over to the questions that were addressed more to my presentation. First off, Dave asked, considering the lead time for delivery of new built ships, does the designated sector issue come into play for operational additional platforms? New local technology could be developed during initial order phase.
Okay, I don't know if you understood clearly the question. You said considering the lead time in BS, which is 1 or 2 years for completing a project, and you said you spoke technology come to play in that one. I think the industry is not working in isolation, and if the design is a local design, there is engagement between it, because the design decide which component goes into the manufacturing or into the manufacturing of that vessel. That those consultation of industry become an opportunity for innovation, because the design will ask the industry that I need a component which can resist to such temperature, such friction, and so on. And this can be an innovation in for the marine or supported by the marine industry. It can be an application also, which can be considered and used in the sea condition, you know, underwater and so on. I don't know if I've answered the question, if I got it correctly. Thank you.
Dave, you can unmute if you can and just talk to Andrew if he didn't address your full question.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, Andrew, what I'm referring to is the situation where you have a very lengthy procurement project for multiple vessels. Now, at the beginning of that project, there would have been an application under the designated sector for an exemption because maybe technology was not available at the time in South Africa. But given the length of a new ship build, it's quite conceivable that the technology that was granted as an exemption is now available. But now you're sitting in a situation where on a project like this, maybe there are add-on orders, or optional orders for a multi-platform contract. Do you guys then go and look at again at the designated sector, or is it then considered to be, if the original baseline was specified in one way, that's the way it is kept?
Thanks so much. Very, very interesting question and difficult also to answer. But when you look at it, it's where we feel strongly that even industry should support localization. If in the process of manufacturing, something new comes and it's local, I believe that there is a contract already signed. I don't know legally how this can play. Even if costs come into, because it can be costly to incorporate that new project, that new component or innovation. But in the long run, the support you give to the rest of the industry is very important. I think the position of the DTI will be every time we take a step to support local innovation, we feel that it's a step toward progress, and the cost in the short term could be higher, but in the long run, the gain is huge, because this is a job creation, and when it's used in a public by government, public vessel which is used by government, even the rest of Africa will see that their government trusts this product just come into the market. Then it means we're opening even doors for the rest of for this product to access further market out there for export. I think that we should consider really incorporate that program, despite cost. I'm speaking here in terms of, as a industrial policy person, and I believe that if we have to achieve industrialization, there are some costs which we have to accept also. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. I'm going over to the next question for you, Andrew. I think it's also the last question, and then I'll address some of mine. It's from Nelson. He says, could you please elaborate on support on accessing the marine market for Black SMMEs?
Yes. If I heard correctly, you speak access of market by SMEs.
Specifically Black SMMEs, yes. And I think this is already addressed for our program, but over to you, Andrew.
Yes. First, by designating 60% for local procurement, by having components which are local, and there are some low-hanging fruits of some products which even ourselves we feel that can be localized easily. We have given even support for accreditation and certification of the product itself. I think that's the focus is on SMEs, to see them also type into the value chain of the marine manufacturing, type into also the mainstream economy, where they can play a role as suppliers of components. I believe that those are the way we are supporting the SMEs, and that's even our focus, to support the small players to enter, because job creation, it's more by SMEs than by big companies. And we have seen throughout the history that the SMEs is key to job creation.
Thanks, Andrew. Nelson, I will give you time. Let's first go through the agenda. Later today, we've got Now, later today, we've got a time slot again. I think you can bring this up and we'll give you an opportunity to pose your question again, Nelson, and I think there's some conversation that we can get out of it. I'm going to go back to some of the earlier questions. First off, there was a question to me. Can you indicate the time frame from application to approval process? So this depends on the two interventions or two initiatives, but mainly the admin is quick. It's less than 2 weeks from proposal submitted, the evaluation process, and selecting successful beneficiaries. What does take long is, especially for standards and accreditations, is if there's not specific, if the companies doesn't know exactly what support they require. So doing the background research, literature review, what in addition is required? Do they first need ISOs before we start with the actual certification? So that takes long. There's a time lapse between approving a company and then actually starting the certification process. So that's sometimes a major delay. Let me go back to the question on the Chamber of Comments. I don't know if you guys heard the feedback I provided there.
No, you can start with the Chamber of Commerce question again.
Thanks, Maria. I've got no idea what glitch happened there. So first off, so on response to that, please hook me up to your members and please tell me who's the potential candidates that we can interact with, communicate with us, and we can see how we can take that forward. Okay, then moving past the comments for Andrew. Then Kevin Watson also made a comment. All of you can just read his comment. The marketing of successful localized certified components and services must be actively supported to ensure that they gain market acceptance. It's very difficult to break into, and I agree with that comment, Kevin. So does Adrian. Scrolling a bit down, is a 750,000 available for each project, for all projects? So it depends. For technology enhancement, you have a budget of 750, could either be for one project or it could be several smaller projects, but the pool per financial year at the moment is 750. Then for standards and accreditations, there's 350 budgeted, but it could be more depending on co-funding and the project. So 750 specifically for technology enhancement. Standards and accreditation, there's more available because we do take in more projects. I hope that answers it. And then there's another question or comment. Women in aerospace and maritime, new entry, 100% women. There to SMME. Okay, it's just a comment that I can look at. Thank you for that. Okay, Andrew, there's another comment for you. I don't know if you can see the chat, but I'll read it for you. Regarding transformation, particularly speaking to access to the market, access to funding, and access to capacity development, do you think you are doing enough in terms of women, youth, and people living with disabilities? And then just continuing from that, transport is the heartbeat of the economy. How come it is not included as a role player in the ecosystem? So I think that second question we're not going to address now because this is marine related, but so we can definitely take that up if you can send us an email. From my side, we do, that's the transformation factors, we do bring that into the program when we evaluate and select programs. But Andrew, I don't know if you want to comment something on the transformation question.
Yes, I think for the transformation you've covered, it's, as we said earlier on, one of the big barriers to entry is the cost of capital, which it's not available sometimes. And we support existing effort. It means someone should be doing something and saying, okay, that's where I'm reaching. Now we extend what is his effort in doing what he's doing. In other words, we support an existing project or programs in the industry, in the company, for young people, women, and so on. But wherever there is a young person, a woman, it's a big focus for us, a person with disability. Every program would like really to incorporate them because it's one of our objectives, just to incorporate them in our program. For transport, not included, there are quite a number of activities we do in terms of transport which support the marine manufacturing. But there is a department dealing with transport as such. Some are dealing with ship registration, and we complement each other, or we advocate for a policy which supports the marine manufacturing. Those are some of the things we do, but we are not working in the space of transport as such, but we complement and support and use what exists as transport, how it can support the marine manufacturing. Thank you so much.
Thanks for that, Andrew. And yes, just to reiterate that, especially the technology enhancement, we have a transformation criteria where we rank companies. Everybody passes, for example, on a technical aspect, then those companies get ranked on transformation, specifically looking on Black-owned, Black female-owned, and youth. So that was brought in by the DTIC to select projects. And then I see the comment goes on, does the opportunity rolls out the whole country or inland provinces? As I showed on one of the slides, we do support companies from several of the provinces. So it's definitely all throughout South Africa. Okay, everybody, we are running slightly late, which means your break is just going to be a few minutes shorter. If you want to quickly stand up, stretch your legs, you've got 3 minutes, and we will continue with the industry day in about 3 minutes. I can maybe give you 2 minutes extra. Then it will be our first beneficiary giving his testimonial, Cybercom Atlas Defense. So we can regroup in about 3 or 4 minutes. Thank you.
Nicolene, can we just try and set up, I've got multiple screens. I just want to make sure that I share the right screen if possible.
Go ahead, Dave. Are you able to share from your side?
I should be able to, yeah. Okay, let's try this. And
okay, I can see it, but it's not in presentation mode.
Yeah, I'm trying to now. How's that?
Still not presentation mode. I see the smaller screens.
Let's try this. And now? Is it in presentation mode now?
Still not. I see the same screen.
Let me see. Okay, I'm just going to disconnect my one.
Yeah. So if there's anybody else on the call, you guys don't need to sit and listen. We're just sorting out some admin.
New share.
It doesn't stop sharing on my side, so I can't see that you stopped sharing.
No, but I'm just trying to share the right screen.
There we go. I can see the full screen presentation.
Okay,
not the first slide, but it's good.
Okay, there we go.
Excellent.
Oh,
thanks,
yay.
Dave. I'll give you 2 minutes. We start 14:11 sharp.
No problem.
Thanks, Dave. Okay, I hope everybody's back. Sorry for the short break, but I think it's very important that we have the interaction that we just had in the question and answer session. Up next is Cybercom Atlas Defense, and Dave will be leading the presentation. Dave, over to you.
Yeah, many thanks. Many thanks to everyone who's logged in and that's joined the industry day today and the presentations. So my name is Dave Viljoen. I'm the Managing Director at Cybercom Atlas Defense. Let me go through to the next slide. So the structure of my presentation today, we're just going to have a very brief introduction into who Cybercom Atlas Defense is. We'll have a look at some of our current projects. We'll talk about ballast water treatment in terms of an overview. Then we'll look at the project that we did with the support of DTIC. We'll look at the objectives, what were the outcomes, and what are we doing moving forward. I think from my point of view, I quite like presentations to be a little bit more informal. If you've got any questions, please unmute yourself and fire the question at me as we go along. It'll just make life a lot easier because then we can also work out in what context the question is being raised. I should finish probably well within the time frame that we've got. We don't have too many slides to go through. So yeah, let's crack on. So Cybercom Atlas Defense, we're a company that was created in around about 2003. We were the result of the technology transfer that was done as part of the original obligations arising from the Strategic Defense Package. And I'd like to think that we're a very good example of a successful offset program. Not only have we been able to maintain the capability, but we've also grown over the years. I think we started off with around about 3 people in 2003. And these days, we're a lot bigger than that. We're sitting at over 25 people now. But more importantly, we're not just solely reliant on the original technology transfer for income generation. We've been able to take the technology and adapt it and evolve. We are the local partners for ThyssenKrupp Marine Systems. That's the shipyard that built the 4 frigates and 3 submarines for the South African Navy. We're also the local partner for Atlas Electronic, which supplied the combat system and the torpedoes that are used by the South African Navy, and also for AISI Marine Systems, which is supplying some of the radars and the mission management system for the new Biro vessels. We have done quite a lot of projects, but just some of the ones that are more applicable to this particular channel. We've developed quite a lot of simulators and stimulators in both the marine and airborne domains. We've developed things like submarine escape hatch signaling systems, which have already been exported to Daewoo shipyards. Many of you might know that the Indonesians lost a 209 submarine recently. They had 5 209 submarines, of which 3 had our signaling system, escape hatch signaling system. And the submarine that was lost, unfortunately, was one of the ones that didn't have our system on board. But yeah, we undertake a lot of combat suite integration. Our engineers are also used by, for example, Atlas Electronic overseas as part of their field service activities. So our guys work on submarines for other countries. We've provided depth B, C, and D maintenance and support for the South African Navy submarines for the weapon system, and the combat system or sonar system. And we've also built a 4th land-based submarine command team trainer, which you can see in the pictures on the right-hand side. There you'll see a periscope simulator that we built, and the AISI consoles, which is the combat system on board the South African submarines. Some of the current projects that we're working on, we've got 2 periscope simulators that we have developed in conjunction with the OEM, Hensoldt Optronics. In fact, the picture that you see on the top right-hand side there is one that was installed literally within the last few weeks in Cartagena in Colombia. We have another one being installed early next year in Peru as well. We provide logistics and support on behalf of foreign OEMs, as I mentioned, from a TKMS perspective. We've done a lot of work in terms of supplying airborne optical sensor interface test hardware, and then we've progressed that into actually developing the training simulators for optical sensors. We are currently integrating a drone with a locally developed and produced hopper for the dispersal of moths to assist with the citrus agricultural sector. We upgrading a helicopter-borne stabilized camera gimbal used for surveying as well in the agricultural sector. And we're launching our new naval command and control system, which is called Trident Tactical. That's quite a whole large topic all on its own, but yeah. And of course, the ballast water treatment system, which is what we're going to talk about today. So ballast water treatment, what is it and why is it important? Well, ballast water reduces the stress on ships' hulls, provides stability, improves propulsion, maneuverability, As you can imagine, as ships move from port to port, their center of gravity and weight changes because the cargo is often moved, and they use ballast water to compensate for this. The problem is that the taking in of ballast water poses a serious ecological concern. If you can imagine a ship taking on water in South America and then discharging the water here in South Africa, you know, all of the bacteria, microbes, invertebrate, eggs, this kind of thing that is contained in that ballast water is obviously not good for the environment that it's being discharged into. So after about 14 years of complex negotiation between IMO member states, they adopted consensus, and the Ballast Water Management Convention came into effect in around about September 2017. It's a layered approach that gives ship owners some time to implement changes. There are different ways that ships can handle the ballast water treatment. But I think as time moves forward, it'll become more and more rigid in terms of the implementation of the convention. Sorry, wrong way. So in terms of ballast water treatment, there's a lot of methods that are available already. A lot of times the different technologies are used in conjunction with another technology. So you have chemical treatment, filtration, ultraviolet, reverse osmosis, and then IMADO, which is the electromolecular activated direct oxidation. Each of these different technologies tends to have pros and cons. As you can imagine, chemical treatment, you know, it's not ideal to be using a whole lot of additional chemicals. Filtration requires the filters to be replaced fairly regularly. Ultraviolet, you get ghosting, and you have to have the water stagnant for a while. RO, you have quite a considerable power requirement. So we focused on IMADO, which is a technology that has been developed locally here in South Africa. The technology has been applied locally for wastewater treatment and also for water treatment for pharmaceutical production. So we had a look at this technology, and we decided we could try and adapt it and have a look at it to kill any of the organic load in wastewater. So just from the outset, it's not that we are cleaning the water to make it potable. We're not taking out any of the toxins or anything like this, but our aim is to kill any of the organic load in it. So from an IMADO point of view, it's a continuous low current, low voltage current that's supplied into the water, which by itself then triggers a set of chemical reactions. So there's a molecular breakdown, some oxidation, it creates a free hydroxyl. So there's a residual chlorine or hydrochlorine that's left in the water. And the main advantages of using this technology versus any of the other technologies is the fact that there's a significantly lower power consumption. Also, the potential footprint on board ships would be considerably smaller. So if we look at the convention in terms of ballast water treatment, a lot of the ship owners will look at this implementation as being a bit of a grudge buy. So they want to do things in the most cost-effective way possible. And anytime you're trying to do a retrofit of any technology to a ship, you're always going to have power consumption, but also the physical integration of any new technology on board a ship is problematic. And so the guys are looking for the most simple and effective solution as possible. And this is where we feel that IMADO does have a role to play and being able to do the job, but to do so in a way that is practical and let's say, slightly more cost effective than any of the current methodologies that are used. So from the project inception, based on several discussions with both water treatment experts and various experts in the shipbuilding domain, there was a considerable amount of research done, and we identified this opportunity in the area of ballast water. But in order to proceed, we needed to make an investment to build a concept demonstrator. And in doing this, the funding was provided by the dtic to assist us, administered by AISI. And this funding enabled us to physically build a system and to conduct testing and evaluation. The test data is the most critical thing for us, and being able to move the system around and do testing in various locations was also quite vital. I'll elaborate a little bit more on the test results and some of the hiccups that we faced during the testing. So our objectives for the project, well, as I stated, to build a test unit for the marine environment. This involved us selecting maybe different materials, housing the electronics in a slightly different way to protect them from the harsh environments. We needed to build a mobile trailer, which would allow us to move the system into different locations. We had to do multiple tests in both saltwater and freshwater environments. We needed to install additional generators and pumps so that we could operate in a standalone function. And the control systems were modified in order to work in the marine environment. And of course, there was lots of hose attachments and coupling that we had to take into consideration. The testing and evaluation system, we targeted a flow-through rate of around 4 kiloliters an hour. This is relatively low compared to what would be required for an onboard installation. But the reason is that it also kept the costs down in terms of the filters, the generators, and the pumps, and all the associated equipment that we had to put in. But it was definitely more than sufficient for us to conduct the testing that we had to do.
Dave?
Yes, sir.
I have a question from Nelson.
Sure.
It's in the chat, so I'll just read it for you.
Okay.
Dave, do you experience corrosion or damage from the environment created by the ballast water or the treatment thereof, and how is this mitigated?
So not in the reactors themselves, but certainly on things like frames and mounting points. So there we've tried to use wherever possible stainless steel. So as you can see in the picture here, all of the piping is all plastic. So yeah, it is a major concern. Obviously, the cabinets need to be watertight when we house in the electronics. Bear in mind that this system or the electronics, when it's installed on board a ship, will be in the engineering space. So it's not going to be, let's say, exposed to salt water on a continual basis. So I don't know if that's answered the question.
I believe so. We'll see if there's a follow-up question, but I think it should have been covered. We've got a shot. No, perfect. Thanks.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, from a project point of view, I think we were quite happy that we achieved all of the objectives that we initially set out in terms of the project. The physical aspects of the project went pretty well. Where we did run into some problems was during the testing and evaluation phase. And I'll elaborate on that a little bit more in the next slide, I think. But in general, we were very happy. The system proved to be very effective in both freshwater and in saltwater environments for E. coli, phytoplankton, zooplankton. And it was quite interesting because for the plankton tests, as an example, we had to go and cultivate the plankton and grow it in order for us to be able to do the tests. So yeah, the outcomes of the whole ballast water treatment system. So the system was stable in a low flow mode. When I say it was inconsistent in a high flow mode, out of 7 batches of testing, which are broken up into a round of both freshwater and saltwater testing with 5 different samples being taken. So it's quite a lot of samples being done. We had one result that didn't make sense for us in a high flow mode. And this is where we thought the whole process would be relatively easy. We would build the thing, go and do some testing, get some results, and that would be it. But the process of doing the testing itself ended up being quite a challenge, because the results that we got from the labs sometimes were contradictory to each other. Sometimes they were orders of magnitude different from each other. And so we had a lot of challenges trying to get the labs and trying to understand how the labs were processing the samples. And when I say that processing of the samples, so we would take 5 control samples. One sample was taken pre-treatment and kept at room temperature. A second control sample was kept in a chilled state. And then we would take a sample after filtration, but before the reactors. And then we would take 2 samples after the reactors, one in a high flow pass, and then one in a low flow pass. So, as I say, we definitely had some challenges, and what became quite clear is that the laboratories here are not really suited to dealing with water samples and analyzing of water samples that have got a very high load, bacterial load. And this is quite interesting because it's going to become quite a challenge for the South African government when they start to police the ballast water convention in terms of foreign ships coming in, because there'll have to be some form of testing protocol put in place, and it opened up quite a big rabbit hole that we had to go down. But at the end of the day, that was probably our single biggest overrun on the project, was definitely on testing. As I say, instead of doing 1 round of testing, we ended up doing 7 batches of testing, which, as you can imagine, each sample you got to pay the lab. There's also the time that's involved in doing it as well. The mobile trailer ended up being a lot larger than expected, but we did also identify some possible spin-off applications for the water treatment. And one of the processes that we've identified is to do potable water treatment in remote areas. That contradicts something I said a little bit earlier, but that's because if the system is combined with another system called a clarifier, the clarifier will then take out the sediment in the water, which would make potable water at a very, very low cost for rural areas. So it's able to do that if it's working in conjunction with another system. So the project has already been presented to DTIC. The project has been completed and it's been approved. Just some of the numeric outcomes of it. So the number of SMMEs that were supported was 5. Academic institutes and science councils. We involved 2 different academic institutes. As I say, we were also involving some labs that had to cultivate the plankton for us as well. Jobs that were directly retained because of this project were 3. Skills development was 1. We also took the opportunity to involve a student that was in 3rd year university as part of the internship program. So he got involved in the testing phase. We had a lot of support from the academic institutes in terms of how to do the testing, how to write up the test protocols as well. And yeah, the project was co-funded by Cybercom Atlas Defense. We knew beforehand that there would be a significant co-funding element from our side. Yeah, I mean, all of the overruns in terms of the additional costs for the testing phase, as well as the time the time overrun that we had, were yeah, not really expected, but also not really surprising. I must also give a very big thanks to the guys at AISI. They were very understanding. Every time there was a delay with the testing, we would discuss it, we would explain why, and I think the interaction was very good. And I think you know, the fact that we didn't want to have a mixed match of results, that we wanted to have as more solid a data set as possible, I think was the right call.
Thanks, Dave. Before we get to the next one, there's additional questions. I can read them for you. I know it's the way forward, but I think these ones you said you wanted to address them as they come through.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so the first one was from Sibusiso, where he says, were these the only parameters you tested for?
Yes, there was, in terms of we looked at the IMO specification in terms of what it is that we had to kill. The one thing that we didn't test for, I think, was cholera. And on advice from some of the professors, they said that we are not equipped as a biolaboratory in dealing with cholera. And it would be too much of a risk to test for cholera. So that was the one test that was admitted. But the other four are all in line with what are the requirements stemming from the IMO certification process.
Thanks, Dave. I think that addresses Kevin Watson's question. Was the testing done against IMO standard or purely on demonstrated performance?
So yes, there is a specification from an IMO point of view, which spells out the effectiveness of your testing, and that's what we were working against. So yeah, we had a target that we had to meet, and that's why the testing was problematic. So you know, we would have to take the rig out to different locations. And this is also where maybe a controlled environment would probably have been better in hindsight, because we would go to the same location, you know, 2-3 days in a row. And on one day, the lab would say that the water is of potable drinking water standard, and the next day they would say that it's several thousand times over the limit in terms of E. coli. So the results that we got from the lab were a little bit confusing, but what we were able to prove, because of the multiple samples that we did, so we had the two control samples in the beginning. As I say, one is kept at room temperature, one is chilled, and then the three other samples, so one post filtration and the two after filtration and after the reactor process, we are able to then take those. We took it directly to the lab straight away, so the tests were done very, very quickly, and then you're able to see the effectiveness of the system in terms of the counts. So yeah, we were working to a standard.
Thanks, Dave. I think that's sufficient. Also, Kevin just said well done, and I have to agree with him. The next question, yes, from Good News as well. Next question, are submitting test reports to SAMHSA or Environmental Department or both? I don't think we did submit any tests, but you can just answer that.
No, we didn't. So we did draw up a very comprehensive test results document, which we are more than happy to make available to anybody who likes sifting through tables and tables and tables and tables of data. Yeah, so it kind of moves on to where we're going to next, I think, in terms of what is the way forward. And as I say, the problem we faced in doing, let's say, in-field testing is the fact that the contamination in the water varied from one day to another. We also got inconsistent results from different labs. So we would often take multiple samples and send to different labs to try and collate the results. The point of the project, though, for us was to prove that the system is effective. In order for us to move on to the next phase, we would have to go and get IMO certification through an accredited authority, Bachmann, DNV. That process is extremely expensive. So we would have to get a significant amount of investment to move through to that phase. And it also takes quite a long time as well. And I think anyone who is going to have that discussion with us in terms of going through the process of IMO certification, I think we probably need to do more testing. I mean, we do have quite a lot of test data and test results, but I think we probably need to do more testing in order to satisfy a potential investor moving forward. I do think there's a very strong business case for this, though, moving forward, because I mean, if you go to the IMO website, I think there's somewhere between 38 or 40, in the low 40s, the number of systems that are certified for use in ballast water. And as I say, the advantage of using this technology is the fact that it's got a very low impact on the vessel, which I think would be of great interest for current ship owners who have to consider a retrofit to now be in line with the new IMO regulations. Another complete spin-off to what we were able to do is to look into using the same technology now. As I said, there's two different branches that we're looking at, which are slightly outside of the realm of ballast water treatment. And the one being process water. So there's a lot of factories and plants that require water, and the water that's provided is not 100% usable. This system is able to clean up the water and assist in process water application. And then the other one that is probably more exciting from our point of view is to apply the technology in conjunction with a system called a clarifier, which would be able to be used for the water treatment to potable standard in rural areas. Now, the nice thing about it, again, being small, it's mobile, the power consumption is so low that it can be powered by solar. So we're certainly looking into those avenues as well. And that's it from our side. I encourage as many questions as possible.
Thanks, Dave. I think there's one left on the chat. Can the system also be used to test quality of the water?
Unfortunately not. So that's where the labs come in. So all of the testing and evaluation has to be done through laboratories. And this is it's a spillover to what I was saying in terms of how is the government going to regulate foreign ships coming into South African waters in terms of their compliance to this ballast water regulation, because it's a potential revenue stream. If fines are being imposed on ships that are not compliant, but in order to issue fines, you have to have the correct testing protocol in place, which is something that we need to investigate and discuss further within South Africa.
Thanks, Dave. There's no more questions in the chat. So if anybody's got a question, you can either raise your hands or just unmute and go ahead.
Also, guys, if anybody would like a copy of the presentation or would like to contact me for further information afterwards, I'm 100% happy.
Thanks for that, Dave. There was a question for somebody that asked for your contact information, which is currently on the screen.
No problem.
Okay, Gerald, go ahead.
Hi, Dave. Thank you very much for your presentation, and congratulations on what's it, the project concept that's been realized. It's good to see that these programs are working. Dave, my question is, how adaptable is your current system, to, let's call it the plug-in and play, with regards to the IMO's regulations on foul cleaning and all these things, and looking at your system, cleaning or the treatment of ballast water, don't you think, or my question is, how does a system like the cleaning cart fits into your ballast water cleaning system? Thank you.
Sorry, Gerald, I'm not 100% sure I fully understand the question. You're asking, how does a cleaning cart fit in?
No. The basis of the question is, your system is all about, water treatment, and especially the ballast water from ships or wherever.
Yeah.
There's an IMO regulation that talks about, the foul cleaning of all ships that enters our South African ports. So now, for the anti-fouling cleaning cart, you also need a system which is basically like taking out all the foul or the foreign foul, and making sure that the water that will return to the sea is, cleaned or treated or whatever. So the question is it possible for this system of yours to plug into a cleaning cart where it basically, purifies, is probably a better word, that water, or is it specifically just for ballast water?
Okay, understood. So the answer is no, it's not specific to ballast water treatment. It's that we identified a looming requirement for ballast water treatment systems moving forward. For the fouling, the cleaning of decks and anti-fouling and this kind of stuff, the system that we've got can plug into that, but it's only half of your solution. So what we are able to do is kill any of the organic load that's in there. But I think from your perspective, the second part of it is something that is probably more important, and that is the elimination of toxins and heavy metals and that kind of stuff from the water. Now that is done using a system that is very closely linked to the technology that is being developed for the ballast water treatment, and that's a system called a clarifier. So to answer your question, yes, we can do it, but it would require two different systems to work together, and yes, they can be done as an add-on.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Gerald. So there's no additional questions. I'm going to thank Dave. Thank you for your time. We have a slot at the end of this whole session again for additional questions. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to post additional questions for Dave in the chat, and then Dave can just address them. With that, I'm going to move on to our next presenter, which is Nkosi Fundile, and Ubakeng will be presenting for us. Ubakeng, I did receive your presentation. If you are unable to share from your side, I will share my screen. Just give me an indication if you are going to share from your side. There we go. Thank you. You can just make it full presentation mode. Perfect. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ubakeng. I'm representing Nkosi Fundile project, and I'll be presenting on what we got from on behalf of Simtembile Kave. So being part of this project and this program was really helpful for us, especially for the people who are working for us, as many of them are actually coming from disadvantaged communities or living in, and also living in the informal settlements in and around Cape Town. So our company is registered in East London, but we mostly operate in Cape Town. So at the moment we are working at the dry dock in Cape Town at the V&A waterfront. And then we've also worked at the Transnet in East London, Saldanha, as well as Simonstown. So our company, Nkosi Pendula Project, was established in the year 2014 by two brothers, Simtembile and Buntu. Simtembile is a marine engineer. He's the marine engineer, and it was his idea that this company is actually started up. But I only started working with them in 2019. So what we do is we basically do marine services and consulting and operating in East London as well as Cape Town. So the goal of our business is to be a leading Black and youth-owned marine engineering company. We have found that this is a good niche for us because a lot of the companies are not youth-owned or have Black owners. So which is why we're doing pretty well, even though there are still many difficulties as we are an SMME. So the market developments that guide our business, firstly, is the national fisheries vessels that require class repairs, and these are done through SAMSA. So SAMSA is the one that takes out the RFQs, and then we apply in the tender process as well. And then this also goes, the same goes for Transnet. So they issue RFQs or tenders, and then we tender through that process. And then Operation Pakisa, the Oceans Lab, ship repair and shipbuilding. That's also fundamental for our business. So our market and sector, so we mainly targeting ports, so the port authorities as well as port users. So also private ship owners that are coming into the country, or some of their vessels need to be washed, or they also require some minor repairs. In some cases, we've also done major repairs. So one of the things, sorry, I forgot to say, as we follow through with the pictures, actually, when you're looking at the pictures, it just follows through some of the processes that we go through once the ship or the tug is in the dry dock. So the picture that you're seeing here is a ship that is in the dry dock. So it accumulates a lot of debris and a lot of organisms that actually attach themselves to the bottom of the ship. So there's also special paints that are used in order to prevent this from happening, something that is linked to Dave's work with the ballast water. So these are very important because the ships are moving from one area to another area, and we need to try and avoid introducing alien invasive species. There's different special paints that are used that actually prevent certain organisms from attaching themselves to the ships. And these have been, I think over the past 15 years, have been established, and then they also put into legislation that is a specific paint that needs to be used, and that is also non-toxic. This picture was also taken, this one is in Simonstown, and this is Tag Kunu, another tag that we worked on, this is under Transnet. So the services that we provide are dry docking maintenance. Then during that dry docking maintenance, we do high pressure washing and sandblasting, spray painting, cabin refitting and refurbishing, engine repairs and service. And then when we're not doing that, we also supply things like fuel and lubrications, oil loops, safety wear, spare parts, as well as crew. some of the past projects this is just a handful of the projects that we have led. So under SAMSA, we have repaired, where we've done the class repairs on the fisheries ship Lilian Ngoi, Victoria Mxenge, as well as Sarah Bachmann. And then for Transnet, we have worked on their tags, Tunu, PB Petrol, Umbilo, and then because we're in Cape Town, we're also closely affiliated with the Robben Island Museum, even though we still follow due process with the RFQs. So we've been able to repair we've repaired, for example, the anchor chain, did calibration, blasting, washing, and painting. So these are the vessels that are used to move between the V&A waterfront and Robben Island Museum on the island. Yeah, and also supply things like wheelchairs as well. So, so we're working quite a bit in Cape Town. So the support that we received was for working in confined spaces. Working in confined spaces, not just, this is now when you think where a vessel has tanks. So when the vessel in the tanks in the vessel can carry things like diesel, lube oil, the seawater tanks, ballast water tanks, foam tanks, as well as freshwater tanks. So all these tanks need to be maintained from time to time or during the class renewal and repairs. So when the ship comes into the dry dock, we follow a process where you need to get a chemist who comes in and checks the tank and does a chemist test to check for a chemistry test. So these are confined spaces and very small to work under. So only one person had that certificate. So being part of the program, we're able to now add 3 other people to be part of the program and get certification for working in confined spaces, because there's a high risk of gas inhalation, sometimes drowning. Then the service provider who helped us under the program was Sheikh IT. So Kevin came to Cape Town to provide the training over 3 days. 2 days was for theory, and on the 3rd day, we went to Cape Town Harbor and went into one of the tanks. So in the picture, this is a freshwater tank that is going to be mechanically cleaned, mechanically prepped, then cleaned, and then repainted with touch-ups. So you can see that this is a enclosed space, and then there's special lighting and special PPE that we use. These are pictures of some of the other tanks. So there's a foam tank. A foam tank is used, all ships have to have a foam tank because if there's, say for example, if there's a fire out at sea, then the ships can call other ships. If they can't access their foam tank, then they can call other ships and then they can fetch or make a plan to get the foam. So it's like a fire extinguisher. Instead of using water, it's a foam extinguisher. So most vessels have to have a foam tank. Then the one in the middle is a freshwater tank that is being chemically cleaned. And then on the other side then is the clean, after the tank has been cleaned, painted, and painted again. Then I wanted to show a video. I'm going to put on my sound. This is just a video that was taken. Show the conditions of the enclosed space. Yeah, so this is the conditions of the enclosed spaces that we need to work in. So the impact and the benefits since the support is that 4 members are now more knowledgeable. Oh, sorry. 4 members are now more knowledgeable about working in enclosed and confined spaces. Now we have, we're going to get gas detection competency from Dreja. So Dreja supply various equipment for gas detection. So now we'll through Kevin, we are now also working with Dredger to also get some of the equipment for gas detection. And then we need a gas detector, and we decided that we need to buy our own gas detector so that even if the chemist is not there, we're also still able to monitor the levels of gas. The multiple gas detector can help us to check the gas from time to time when we're working inside the tanks. And then the pictures below are just showing so this is after blasting and touch-ups. So on the right-hand side. So then the ship is still going to be painted. And then on the left-hand side, it just shows the spray painting process. Looking ahead, after this program and still being in the program is, firstly, we were awarded a tender by Transnet Saldanha for dry docking maintenance of 3 tugs, so Cormorant, Jutton, and Chardonnay, for a 12-month period. So being part, and this was very helpful. I think it did also contribute to being part of the program and getting the certification for working in confined spaces, because these were then added to our safety file. The safety file is mandatory when you're working with Transnet. And I think with the conditions that we're working in, also working at heights, working with chemicals, some of the machinery that we're using all the time, this was very helpful for us. And then we've also been enrolled in the SAQCC painting and blasting training. So the RFQ was published by the CSIR and it expired on the 19th of November. So this, when this one starts, it will then give us an opportunity to bring more staff members to be certified spray painters. Some of the lessons and the challenges that we experienced was that a lot of the people that we're working with, some of them did not finish high school, but then in terms of working, they work really hard, they do really well. So one of the challenges was that because some of them didn't finish school, and English is not their mother tongue, so that was the problem that we had during the training. But because Ntembile, obviously, he's a graduate, so he was actually able to translate some of the difficult work during the training. So that's one of the challenges that Kevin and Ntembile had to encounter during the training process. And then the lessons learned was that safety requires teamwork and trust. And also it was good to also just reiterate that some people are better visually and using their hands than by actually doing the theory first. We'd like to thank the DTIC for this program, as well as CSIR for coordinating, and Kevin from SHAKE for coming down to Cape Town and conducting the training for us. Thank you so much. I'm done talking.
Thanks, Oboking. This was a great presentation. I really appreciate the photos and everything you just said. I don't see any direct questions in the chat box. But from my side, we are really pleased to have met you, and all the best for moving forward. And hopefully we will soon be assisting you guys for that Is AQCC painting and blasting.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. I still don't see any questions. With that, we can move on. And then if there's any questions for Oboking, please post them in the chat. Oh, there's 2 hands that's up. Okay, Andre, we'll start with you. Go ahead. Andre?
I think he's muted.
There we go. I can see his face, but I can't hear him. Andre, if you've got earphones in, maybe just plug them in and out, because we can see your face, but we can't hear you. No, still we can't hear you. I can see you're talking. Maybe just post your message in the chat, your question in the chat. Gerald, over to you. I don't know if it's old hand or it's a new hand.
It's a new hand, Nicolene. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Let me also congratulate Nkosi Pendule projects. Job well done, Oba King. We hope that you can be beneficiaries through these programs from AISI, and that you can grow from strength to strength. The market really needs some penetration from blacklisting and ease. And then also, coming to a question for Nicolene. Nicolene, how does Oba King and a company get involved with all of us on this group? All of the projects and all of the different services rendered to the different entities has some auxiliary services needed at some point. And looking at Oba King, we're looking at scaffolding, probably looking at some underwater surveys or underwater cleaning. When are we gonna create sort of a ecosystem portal for all SMMEs that's beneficiaries of this fund, just to make sure that we also complement each other and also bring business to one another? Thank you.
Okay, Oba King, I don't know if there's anything you need to answer first. Would you mind if I answer?
You can answer first.
Okay. First off, you were very soft, but I think I got the gist of it. So if my understanding is correct, you asked how Oba King, their services and not directly manufacturing. I hope I got that. You were extremely soft on our side. I think the entrance of support that we provide depends on the applications that we receive in each round of calls. So Nkosi Pendile is related to manufacturing in the sense that the work that they do on tanks, they go in, they use the certification to make sure that they are safe environment to work so that they can do the maintenance, repairs, cleaning of the tanks and the hulls. So that's the relevance to the program. I hope that Gerald, did that answer your question? Extremely soft now. You're still muted.
Sorry,
I think
sorry,
one of
Nicolene.
the sorry, Gerald.
Okay, Oba King, go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say, Nicolene, one of the other things that Gerald asked was, will this, being part of the program and being here today, will that also allow us to actually work together and to start having connections where when we are in Saldanha, we can actually contact Dave and say, Dave, we're here, this is what we need. So that was one of the questions Dave asked.
Oh, okay. No, excellent. Yes, and that's exactly why we have these industry days. We want our SMMEs that we support to display their abilities, their capabilities, and now their support so that they are more accessible to the local as well as international markets, which is the aim of the program, to get them in a platform where they are able to take on more work, to increase the market. I also saw Antonio Jones already reaching out to Oba King, which is great. And we'll have these breakout sessions a bit later where you guys can introduce yourself to each other and tell what is the products that you manufacture or services that you supply. So that's exactly the aim of these industry days, is to encourage engagements and to introduce all through interested parties to each other. And I really appreciate, apologize, Gerald, I can't, it was so soft. I don't know if it's just on my side, but it was really difficult to follow your question.
Apologies, Nicolene. Maybe it's just me being a very soft-spoken young man. Can I perhaps request? It's very unfortunate because we do see the contact details and everything. Could I perhaps request from your office's side that we also get a list of a list and also context from everybody that's present today? Because there's also some of us that's busy working and we can't really, jot down some of the contact numbers. Could we perhaps request that from you, Nicolene, if possible? Thank you.
Yes, this becomes difficult because of the POPI Act. We need consent from everybody that the information that we share. So I would therefore recommend you jot down as fast as possible the companies that's willing to share the information. So that would be Obakeng's on her presentation, anybody in the chat, if they are willing to provide the information, because then they willingly consent to share the information. Unfortunately, I will not be able to mitigate and play that role for us in this. And that's why we hope to have these engagements in the future in person, so that you guys can interact more openly. So remember, in the terms of Poppy, if you guys are willing to share it, then the information is out there. But then again, we need to protect those who doesn't want to share it. Okay, I just want to go back to the chat and look for the question
Yes.
from Andre. Can you
There was
see
a
the question?
I saw
Go
there's
ahead.
a question from, okay, firstly, there was a question from Komoto. Thank you for the question, Komoto. Komoto, yes, this is the same as how cleaning. So we do various things also, yeah. So it's how cleaning, top side, underside, painting the top side, underside, and treating it. So yes, it's how cleaning. And then it was Antonio said he would like to keep in touch with us, and if we need a subcontractor when we're in Saldanha. That was it. Oh yeah, and then Komoto again asked, how do we dispose of the dirt from the cleaning? So firstly, we use fresh water. So you can't clean a ship using seawater. It's pointless. So we use fresh water, and then we mix it with the grit, and then that's when we grit blast on the outside. On the inside, we use dry grit because you can't have the water inside. And then we drain the water, and then the grit gets left behind. And then after that, we put it into bags. The grit comes in special bags. Then we put the dirty grit back into those bags, and then it gets disposed of somewhere else. It's never disposed of at sea. There's a special place where we dispose of it for obvious reasons as well, especially for environmental reasons as well.
Thanks, Obakeng. I see we're quickly running out of time, but there's one more question that's for you. Just looking for it. I just had it. Great presentation, Obakeng from Sibosiso. So well done, Obakeng. People indicating that they're willing to share information. Dave for you posted his contact information. I think there was especially somebody asking for that. Did we address all the questions, Obakeng? It seems to me that we have.
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you, everybody. And that brings us to the next stage, which is the breakout sessions. So please bear with me. This is the first time that we're going to attempt these breakout sessions. I'm going to assign all of you to different rooms. There's approximately 45 of you, so I'm going to make it into 5 groups. What I'm going to ask you to do in this session is exactly what we've just discussed. Tell us what your company does, who are you, share contact information if you want to. So the 4 questions that you guys can address is, what is your name? What is your company name? Where are you located? So where are you based? And the main products and services that you guys share. So that's the whole aim of this virtual industry day, is to try and connect you guys.
Apologies, everybody. It seems Nicoline has dropped off the call. Nicoline, are you back? Nicoline, but you're on mute.
Did I drop off? Was the breakout rooms not created?
No, I think you've got a bad connection, Nicoline. Everybody's still in the main room.
Okay, let me try that again.
Guys, while Nicoline is trying to sort this out, I think what we will do is we'll send an email from my office just asking who's willing to share their contact details and just build a database of attendees around that. But unfortunately, we are strictly governed by the POPI Act. So, and please do not distribute the information further without the recipient's knowledge, but we'll do that.
Thanks, Mary. I'm going to try again. I hope it's not going to kick me off again. So I'm just going to say open all rooms.
It seems like you're doing the right thing. Everybody, there should be a join now function popping up. If you just join the rooms that's you're assigned to, sorry.
Marie, yeah, thank you. Okay, hi, everybody. I hope you can hear me again. I have closed the breakout room sessions and everybody should be within the main session again.
Nicolene, we can hear you.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll give over to Nelson, who's going to do our next presentation from Polyfix. Nelson, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here, Nicolene.
Thanks, Nelson. Just check if you're able to share your screen and then you can start your presentation.
Okay. Can everyone see the screen?
Full presentation mode, you can start.
All right. Good day, everyone. My name is Nelson Oliphant. I'm the Director and CEO of Polyfix, Pty Ltd. Okay, so I'll just give a brief background of Polyfix, who we are and where we started. We started in 2016, level 1 BEE company with 33% female ownership. We are a distributor of Anacon international products, and we trained applicators of these products as well. Registered with the Corrosion Institute of South Africa, and we have, all of these ISOs in place with the help of the ISO 9001 and 14001 from the AISI program, specifically directed at the marine applications. So we have branches in Cape Town, KZN, Palabora, and the main head office is based in Lindbro Park in Johannesburg. So who is Anacon? Anacon is an international brand that manufactures coating products. Their products have been approved in different naval spaces, and they operate, over 72 countries in the world, and in the SADC region, which is in South Africa and most parts of this African part of the world, we were approved distributor and applicator, and the products have been independently tested for the application in the marine space, as well as in various other spaces like your nuclear, mining, and so forth. Anacon is also ISO 9001 certified, and they have different marine certifications. Some of them, which might be known amongst yourself, are the ABS standards, as well as your Korean Register of Shipping, and the Department of Navy of the US also have approved these products to be used on their ships. And then just to give you some other certifications, the Lloyd's Register for some of the products, and these are just examples of the certificates that Anacon has. So just to give you an example of where we would apply our services in the marine space. So one of the products we have here is Duratough. It's mostly used on, the rudders, areas of the ship that do experience a lot of cavitation and, high impact during the movement of the ship. And this has been one of the products that the Navy, US Navy loves and has been using since 1995. And some of the other products used within the, pumps, impellers, as well as casings and repairs of these, as it was demonstrated in the previous presentation. Sandblasting normally has to be done, and then preparation of the surface, and then these products will be coated and rebuilding the systems to a new, close to new impeller or pump or whatever you may have. This is just another example of where ceramaloy was used, and this product has been proven to actually increase the efficiency of the pumps from when it's been in use and after we've coated it. So another example of where this would be used is in your repairs and maintenance of shafts. And sometimes the guys are traveling for long periods of times, and they're not able to actually repair these in a workshop. So you can have a quick fix of your shafts on the ship. If you do have a lathe in place, so you just rebuild the system, and then you can either use a milling machine to make keyholes, or you can lathe it down to your correct sizes. Some of the other products which we apply or distribute in the marine space are your pipe leaks fixes. Speed alloy is a product that can be used with pipes that are constantly experiencing leaks where you can't actually switch off the valves. You can actually apply this and service the pipe in situ. Another product that is used for your bigger systems is your carbo wrap, and Duro wrap and Caro wrap are used in conjunction, where you basically rebuild or close off the leaks, and then you would basically have a carbon fiber system over it, which puts it in place. Another interesting application of the Anacon products are in your engines, where you want to insulate the heated pipes and systems from the guys who actually go in there, for them not to burn. So you would use NSL HR to basically coat these pipe systems, and they basically serve as a thermal insulation, so the guys don't experience the heat in the engine rooms. It's also used as a corrosion and waterproofing system. So if you do experience waterproofing, it serves the same corrosion or water leaks. It serves as the same purpose. And lastly but not least, there's another product that we specialize in. This is not a coating system, but it's also from the Anacon group. So this is used on your pipes that are, basically blocked on the inside because of the lime that builds up on the inside. I don't know exactly what they call that chemical, but yeah, it blocks up the pipes, and this Anaflow system basically creates a magnetic field that clears out the pipes and keeps the pipes, clear for when the guys are offshore, when they are back. And then we do have an emergency repair kit, which we also supply with this. This emergency repair kit is basically for the ships, where the guys have a pack of Duralloy, Speed alloy, for any of these problems that I've demonstrated, and they experience them when they're traveling from one point to the other. So just to explain how we've come across the AISI program, we were looking at our marine specific target market, which was the South African Navy. I mean, someone mentioned the frigates and the SS Drakensberg. We've approached these guys and told them, look, we saw that you have some problems, and we would like to assist with the corrosion and the leaks you're experiencing. And we've also earmarked Transnet ports, as well as Dammon shipyards and SA shipyards. So these are our current target markets. We are open to others. We're fairly new in this industry. As I said, we started in 2016, and we still, trying to break way into the marine industry. But we are open to servicing any client that needs our services. So the Navy basically requested that we do get some certification, ISO 14001 and 9001, and these need to be specifically for the marine industry. So we identified this program of the AISI and Department of Trade and Industry, and as a support system that can help us to break into these target markets. So this certification that we requested was the ISO 9001, specifically aligned to the ISO 12944, which speaks to paints and varnishes that deal with corrosion, protection of steel structures, as it was requested by the Navy, as well as the environmental system that show how we dispose of any waste and how we run our systems environmentally friendly. And then we also requested some training for employees, basically on NACE, marine coating, as well as offshore corrosion assessment training to upskill our staff to specifically speak to the marine industry. And then, so what we achieved through this program is that the staff were both trained, both our ISOs were successfully acquired. The ISO 9001 aligned to this ISO 12944 and the ISO 14000 were both successfully attained, and our staff were trained on these systems. We have a SHEC officer that was trained to manage these systems according to what was specified in our certification, and we also got the budget approved to do the corrosion inspection training as well as the marine coating inspection training from Corisa. However, this training is still pending due to the traveling ban that is happening due to COVID. And we believe that now that we have these certifications, we will be more recognized by our clients, especially the Navy, who's indicated that we need to get these trainings. Challenges we experienced were that the NACE course was delayed due to the COVID pandemic that's currently happening, and also due to COVID, we couldn't approach the clients during the time, so there was a business decline and a lack of available free time to focus on developing the system during the certification process. And then we also experienced some face-to-face interaction problems with the people who were assisting us to get certified. We had to do most of our certifications from remote areas, which was sometimes a bit difficult, but yeah, we achieved that. Yeah. So that's just the presentation to show who we are. If there's any questions that anyone was asking, I haven't seen the chat yet. Maybe I can answer.
Thanks for a very insightful presentation, Nelson. From my side, I just want to congratulate you on obtaining the certification. Polyfix has completed their implementation and certification just recently. So first off, well, congratulations for that. And secondly, this is a great example on how the industries are interactive. So you obtained the certification for the marine industry, but you can also apply it in the construction as well as in the energy sector. And we really hope to see big things from Polyfix in the future.
Thank you.
Is there any questions for Nelson? Otherwise, we can move on and then we'll add the additional questions to the slot at the end of the industry day. Zay, we've got a good presentation, Nelson, from Komotso, and then Andre de Villiers just asking you to display your contact details. So Nelson, if you are willing to share it with the whole group, you can just post it in the chat.
All right, we'll certainly do. Thank you.
Thanks. And with that, I think there's a little bit of fatigue, so I'm going to allow an additional 5-minute break. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to just give us 10 minutes, but we're going to start 5 minutes early. So let's all reconvene in 10 minutes. So 45 past, let's make it 25 to 4. We'll have just a 10-minute break and I'll speak to all of you again in 10 minutes. Hi, Antonio. Just to confirm, it is in full presentation mode and I can see it.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that everything is running. Again, you can hear me clearly? Do you need to sit closer or?
No, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, thank you. Can I just leave my screen up as is now, or do you still want to start up when you?
It's perfect. You can leave it like this. I will start the chat again in, well, it's about 7 minutes.
Okay, sure then.
Thanks, Antonio. Looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I hope everybody is back for our last session. I will now hand over to Antonio from AR Jones Engineering to conduct his presentation. Antonio, over to you.
Thank you very much, Nicolene. I'm not sure if I need to show face. I think some of the group members have already seen me on other group, but maybe I'll just quickly show you my ugly face, and then you can at least have an understanding of the voice where it's coming from. Good evening, everybody, if you haven't heard of me from before. Yes, this is, as I said, this AR Jones Engineering. We are a company based in Saldanha Bay, here in the Western Cape, West Coast area. Let me just see if I can start. Yeah, we are one of the companies that was basically the beneficiary of the Marine Manufacturing and Maintenance and Repair and Associated Services Program, development program. So firstly, I just really want to say a special thank you to the dtic, which is the initiative of the Department of Trade Industry, which is the initiative of this program. And as I think Nicolene mentioned it before, the aim of the program is to make sure that to assist marine manufacturers or to address the issue that might hinder us to prevent participating in the system. So from our side, we already ended that. You will see later in the presentation where some of the hindrance was removed in programs were in place so that we can start also to trade in the industry. We specifically was applied for the class approved welding procedures. So we can say that we have welding procedures now for the maritime industry, and we also have 10 welders that was qualified on this procedure that we can use in the industry. So yeah, thanks again for the DTIC for the program. Our presentation will just go through, let's say, our vision in purpose, a little bit about AR Jones AR Jones Engineering. And I will take it up a little bit backwards in terms of our story. I wanted to start off where we started in 2016, tell a little bit the story on it, where we started off with new goals in 2001, specifically with the global pandemic. And then also where all the whole program fitted in the impact that it had on our company. Our vision, I think, is with many companies, is that our vision is to be the engineering service business of choice for our customers. And our purpose is obviously to have an impact on our customers, but also to our local community. And also to make sure that we also have an impact on our employers itself, to make sure that they have some sort of meaningful employment, and to make sure that their activities also add value to the communities. We strive to be trusted, humility, as well as integrity. That is our core values that we always want to make sure that people can rely on us on that one. Myself, as I've mentioned, I'm Antonio Jones. I'm the founder of this company. My personal background is that I've worked in the steel industry basically for more than 18 years, straight from school. And then before I went to university, studied chemical engineering at the University of Stellenbosch. I was part of Eskom for 2 years for my engineering training services, but I was mostly in the steel industry as project manager. I've done some courses in management, and yeah, I'm just basically passionate about entrepreneurship, and that is where I established AR Jones Engineering in 2016, and we're still going strong on this side. And as I mentioned, AR Jones Engineering is an engineering services company. We provide engineering solutions and equipment for a diverse range of sectors. As I've mentioned, the steel industry, oil and gas, specifically now with the IDZ area in Saldanha by itself. And then as this program is about the maritime industry, so where we also have a key impact, or we're trying to have some sort of market share in terms of the maritime industry. And then also some of the local municipalities in our area. The key businesses or the key legs that we have, as you can see, it is the maintenance and repair part, specifically in the maritime industry. because then we also do sourcing and supply for equipment, specifically pumps and valves for the maritime industry as well. Also other equipment that is needed for the industry. We also have a leg where we focus on energy, as you now know, with the whole COP26 and the focus on energy, reduce of CO2 footprint. That's why we also had a department for energy. I do mostly the consultancy work, and in the department it's either biogas itself, but we also have a partnership, or at least a collaboration with Fuel Cell and Minimize South Africa, where we also look at marine engines and how fuel consumption can be reduced, and as well as CO2 emissions. You can contact me if you need more details specifically on fuel safe for maritime engines. As I said, the journey in terms of South Africa for our company, as I said, I've started off in 2016, and I think with most businesses, startups, you usually start up on your own. You know, you don't have a specific office. You use space at your house. You basically have a business card, and you're trying to sell your business or your vision that you have. You basically do everything yourself. You have a laptop, Wi-Fi to do most of your businesses in. I started also the business up with no real funding. I had to use own savings. I was literally a one-man band right from the beginning, where I was responsible for everything in the business. And I just worked through the whole startup and to make sure that we can focus on building a business or building a brand. And I can say after 5 years now, our brand has been really established, at least in this West Coast area, but we have some national clients as well, which is quite an achievement for us. As I say, as soon as you start building momentum in the business, then there's no real stopping us. Let's say the second year of our business, that is actually where everything took a little bit of more shape. That is where we first moved into a workshop. I actually then had the opportunity to employ at least 10 semi-skilled workers, where we could work mostly in the steel industry for shutdowns, and then we still focused on source and supply as well. You can see how the business evolved in terms of, I started off as energy consultant, and then from there moved to a self-designed A.R. Jones Engineering logo. As you can see, my drawing, or trying to put up a more sophisticated logo on it, until where we are now with our last logo, which I think looks much better than the one that I've designed myself, more professional look on it. So that is just how we've moved or evolved in it. In our third year, we were lucky, especially in the steel industry, also to have like a maintenance contract with AMSA for 1 year. At least it was supposed to be a multi-year contract, but as you can see in the next slide, AMSA is closing down in Saldanha Bay, or Saldanha Steel. But we've managed now, you know, after basically our third year, our team could grow to more than 20 skilled workers, and we also, you know, we could build. We had an impact at least to 20 workers in this area. This basically, the contract allowed me to look at, let's say, more international relationships, build relationships internationally. I've took the time to travel to Nigeria to see if we, I think it's with the West Grow program, where you could see how we can take our business to Africa with, I think that was mostly also in the energy part on it. I visited Germany also. That was also through a program through the dtic, TDAT, and West Grow. Also in terms of how we can establish relationships with other companies. Yeah, and then obviously that is where in 2020, I think that is where for most businesses where it became really difficult. In January, AMSA Saldanha Works decided to mothball the plant. The plant is still down now since, let's say, since March 2020. And we obviously were, our biggest revenue at that stage were at Saldanha Steel, but that contract obviously stopped with the closure of the plant. And 26 March, as we also know, lockdown happened, the pandemic, everything basically stopped. We were lucky enough that we were in the in the food industry, specifically with sea harvest in the maritime industry, where we were able to become, or well, declare as essential services. So we were lucky in the sense that we could maintain our business or keep our doors open, at least 50% of our revenue that we could still generate. You can see there's a team of our workers busy with a vessel repair at the dry dock in Saldanha Bay. We could still support the municipalities with wastewater systems. Yeah, with closure of companies, we were able to add new equipment. We took the risk to buy new equipment from, or not new, second-hand equipment from companies that closed down, to make sure that we could at least add some commodities or to reduce our efficiency or our cost by increasing our efficiency by having machines in-house. I think with most companies during that time, we tried to maintain employees by making sure that we could pay at least some of the employees with their monies for those that could not work during that period. So obviously, as I say, 2020 hit. So our question is, what is our new goals? What is our strategy? And as we've seen, the maritime industry, even during a pandemic, is an industry that is still sustainable. It is vessels still moved, even though they were not allowed maybe in all the ports. But the maritime industry, food industry specifically, was still going forward, or was still going. So that is where we had a goal to say, how can we increase our value or our value proposition to make sure that we can become more sustainable, to become more competitive differentiation in terms of what we can, especially in a EME where we're competing with a lot of bigger companies. So if you not differentiate yourself, it's very difficult to be able to be sustainable. So that's why we've set goals in at least the beginning for 2020, that we need that maritime class, let's say the IX International Approved Welding Procedures. It was for us crucial. We needed to build skills to make sure that we have workforce in our team, and then see where we can move either to manufacturing or at least be more, let's say, in higher need in terms of standards that we can put in place. And that is exactly where the whole program fitted in. We were lucky to be able to for 2020 to achieve our goal to have the class approved and certified welding procedure, and to code the 10 welders that we needed for this industry. And as I say, again, thanks for the program that was rolled out by the dtic in 2019 that we participated in. And I can even say it, we applied in June 2020 and we were not successful. So we basically reapplied in 2021, and that is when we were successful. So for those that maybe apply once and they were unsuccessful, I can say the message is don't stop reapplying. You never know, the next year might be space for you to be part of the program. And that is obviously in February, the whole process started with the whole procurement of the services. In September this year, we were able to implement the whole procedure where we did the welding procedure itself, and we were able to code our welders also on the procedure. And now October is basically, in last month, we received our official welding procedures where we can now actually go to our clients and to make sure that we can basically sell the commodity, say, look, we are internationally approved by Bureau Veritas to do welding on the hulls of a structure, of a vessel. So that is where we are now. We can participate at least now in the market by showing that we do have these procedures in place, which is a need for the maritime industry. And there you can see the impact. With the we now basically certified to perform welding on the structure of a vessel. We in the past where we mostly would just do, let's say, some small works around it, but now we have the certificates to do the welding on the vessels. And this is our target market is mostly also in the fishing industry with the fishing trawlers in Saldanha Bay. We already vendors for sea harvest. We had meetings with them as well in terms of making sure that we can be at least submit quotation for it. So we will definitely follow up on our discussion with it. as you can remember, we only received it now in October. So the first vessel for CR was now docked now in November. But the document was just a little bit too late for us to participate, but at least we will be for the next vessels for CR. And also now for this month, we've now new client Oceano Group, which also have vessels that we can also now start to use this procedures for the next one. Even with Transnet, we've now started also do some work for TNPA with some of the tugboats. I think it was in a previous presenter did mention about the tugboats that there is maintenance that has also been done. We've done subcontracting work for a client that did some work on the tugboat. So we are very much open also for other subcontracting work for in the TNPA space. We've also now, let's say, like to see how we can expand our opportunities beyond Saldanha Bay. We're also looking to see how we can get into in Cape Town itself or Simonstown, or you never know, even Port Elizabeth or Kebega, the new name, in even other ports of Saldanha. And also as well with the IDZ, which is the mandate to do vessel repair, that is definitely where we will definitely be able to market ourselves as certified WALA procedures for this industry. This is again just skilled. You can see even when the WALA procedure was implemented, even the local newspapers, it was quite a big story for us in Saldanha Bay, where we transfer basically the skills to at least for the 10 welders. The total of 10 welders were certified. I can even mention that there were 2 female welders, youth welders, young welders that we were also able to certify on it. Some youth male that could also participate, and then obviously some more experienced welders that was also used to code on our welders. So the majority, if you can see, 70% of our coded welders were young, either male or female, that were able to participate, and then we've combined it with some senior welders as well. And for these young welders, it was quite a motivation for them to be able to say that they have welding procedures that is recognized by a Bureau Veritas, which is an international, class society. It's just not a normal AISI or a South African-based one. And it did have a positive impact also in the community, as you can mention now with the local newspapers also covering the stories also. What I can also say, what the impact is that it does bring in terms of you can see the picture on top is where our current workshop is basically 250 square meters. With this procedure, we're very comfortable that we will be able to grow our customer base. We feel very comfortable. That is why I've made a decision that we will move to a bigger workshop for 2022, which is double the size that we currently have. You can see a picture below. We will move into 500 square meters, and it will give us more space now to build, at least to manufacture as well. The impact is also what the new workshop also will bring. It will be able to, to take on more learners from our side. I think we will be able to add at least more six workplace experience youth to build. And I can also say that there's even female Black students that we have that we will be able to give them workplace experience to make sure that they are ready for the work field in the future. As I said, vessel repair, manufacturing. We will even look at manufacturing of small utility trailers that will be able to use to transport maybe some small vessels or for the industry as well. The way forward is what we definitely looking for the next year is we will obviously with the Saldanha Bay IDZ area, we will make sure that we are in the field to make sure that we are considered for vessel repairs. And I must say, this also opens the door where we can say maybe we can start looking at shipbuilding itself, maybe from a small scale or small boats, depending if we have nice partners in the future on it. We will also look at all the special projects from SAMSA, AMSOL, which is the African Marine Solutions. That is definitely, we've been knocking on their doors for that. We were looking at DORMAC as well. We can obviously how we can do subcontracting work. We will definitely contact I&J fishing trawlers to make sure that we can also get new clients on that side. And then the next step is obviously, as soon as we've looked at the South African markets, to look at up north to Namibia with the Windhoek, the market on that side, to see if we can get in contact with them also to play a role in that space of it. Major lessons that I've learned also, you need to have passion for what you do. Patience is very important in this industry, and obviously to work hard in the industry. You need to have a strong team to support whatever mission that you want to. Even what we saw in 2020, you never can become complacent. That's why we always try to set new goals for a new year and try rigorously how we can implement it to make sure that we can stay competitive in the environment where anything can rapidly change. Nobody really expected the pandemic to come in. And every market on this planet was disrupted with the pandemic. And as a business, to be sustainable and to survive, we need to make sure that we adapt to the changes and to improve in terms of what we do. Yes, yeah. Just one final thanks again, as I say, to the DTIC in terms of the impact that this program had on us, and also the role that was played by managing this program. Nicolene, from your side as well, AISI and the CSIR for hosting this program. Thank you very much. If there's any questions, there's some contact details if for those who want to take a screenshot of it, but you're welcome to contact us either via direct email or with on my phone number. Thank you.
Thanks, Antonio. Thanks for a very excellent presentation. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yes, I think it just shows you what hard work and dedication can do from a one-man show to this business that you've built up. Just going to the chat, I see there's again, well done, Antonio, from Eugene. And then from Komotso, national shipping carrier for South Africa. Are you ready to build vessels as a South African company, Antonio?
Well, I would definitely hope that we will gear ourselves up to be able to, but obviously at this stage we can't build. But I think with strong partnerships in the future, we will definitely look into that. Let's say for our next goal for our company.
Then very good comments also in the chat from Sibusiso and Andre. And then just on the call, is there any additional questions for Antonio? We still have 3 minutes for specific questions.
For those that want to have contact, I think in the comment, I've left some of my contact details, but if you want me to put it down, you can email me directly or send, get in touch if it's need be.
Thanks, Antonio. And on that regard, what we will do is everybody that shared the information on the chat, we will also take that information and share it as a mini database from this session with everybody. So because you've already gave consent that we're able to share it, we will distribute those that shared information. Okay, thank you. If there's any additional questions, you can post them in the chat or leave them for the second last one, which is another Q&A session. I am now again going to open another breakout session. This will be different people that were in your first one, so it will not be the same people. You all know the drill by now, so it's just again introduce who you are, say where you're from, what your main products are, and then hopefully there's some collaboration and key relationships that's formed within this breakout session. Okay, I'm going to set them up. There's a little less people on the room now, so I'm going to make a little bit fewer rooms. Okay, welcome back, everybody. I'm sure everybody enjoyed it. I hopped around from chats or from breakout room to breakout room, and there were some very interactive discussions going on. So thank you, everybody, for your participation. Then we come to our last topic or our last section of today's Industry Day, which is general questions and answers. So I'm going to say we're no longer going to work on the chat, but rather raise your hand in the function below. So you will see if you on your screen and you go to reactions, there's a hand function. So raise your hand, then you can address any of your questions to the people that participated, the beneficiaries that participated today, to the CSR, the AISI, or to the DTIC. So the floor is open for questions. If you've got a question on how the program works, again, on the funding that's available, the type of interventions that the program hosts, any related questions to the program are more than welcome. I think then what I'll do, Nelson, if I can, are you still on the call? Yes, you are. You had a question earlier on the inclusion of BE companies in the marine industry. Do you want to raise that question again? I'm scrolling, trying to find a specific question to open it for us. Nelson, if you're still with us, you're on mute.
Nicoline, you've got questions from Joe and Khomotso.
Oh,
or hands.
Hands, there we go. Joe, you are first on my screen. Go ahead.
My question is, how do we, and what is the procedure of entering the program?
Thanks, Joe. First off, I will just check if you are already on our database. So we've got a marine database that we send out calls when they are open. So you either get an expression of interest for example, the standards and accreditations intervention, or a call for proposals for the technology enhancement intervention. So these we send out to all of our beneficiaries. You'll also, if you receive such an email from one of your colleagues or friends in industry, distribute it to your friends and colleagues just to increase awareness. So number one is to get you on that database if you're not already on it, and then to follow the instructions to apply whenever a call is open.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Motso?
Hello, Nicoline. I have got a comment and a request. My comment is that let me commend it is English. I don't know. Let me commend you guys for what we have achieved and what we have done. We have had the presentations, and then to me, these are great milestones with regards to the development in the maritime manufacturing. And then I'm very much glad in everything that you guys have done. My request here is that can you see the SAMBAF is also part and parcel in terms of maritime sector. Our request is that just take us as your stakeholder so that we can help you reach out, because as I see, it's about 3 companies which are operating in Gauteng, meaning other companies are in the coastal provinces, which is leaving out a lot of other what you call the provinces, because by 2030 the IMC, the South Africa needs to become the international maritime center. And then the bigger challenge at the moment is for us to make sure that each and everyone in South Africa knows about these opportunities, and then they have access to this. That is why I'm speaking to the access of to market, because with regards to Saimina and other Saimi, it's their responsibility again to work together with you in making sure that some of the TVET colleges and even the basic education or the primary level, they do have access to this. So we can help you out there as a stakeholder so that you can have a greater reach. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Khomotso. We really appreciate that. Okay, any additional hands? Any questions, comments? From my side, I thank each and every one of you for attending this day. We never in the recent times have days anymore where we can take a half day to attend these type of industry sessions. So we're really thankful to see the support from each and every one of you for the program. That's highly appreciated and noted. I also want to give big thanks to the DTIC for attending this meeting, for giving their time and the support to industry. I think today was a testimonial of the difference that we're making in some of these companies' lives. And it's great to see how companies are growing and the impact that we're doing through the program. And if there's no additional questions, there's absolutely no reason for me to keep all of you on this call. I can give you 3 minutes of your life back. Thank you very much for attending. We will make this available on the AISI website, at least if we don't share the presentations. So we'll just distribute the links so that everybody can visit and view these presentations and session online. Have a great evening, everybody. I will stay on the line if somebody still wants to talk, but if somebody wants to go ahead. Bianca, I see you're unmuted. Would you like to say something?
No, I'm just saying bye-bye, Nicolene. You said everything.
Thanks for attending, Bianca. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Nicolene. Thank you so much for everything, organizing these fruitful discussions.
Thanks, Aniko. We wish to hear more of you in the future.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Nicolene. Bye-bye, industry stakeholders. Bye-bye.
Bye. And bye, Andre, which we can't hear.
Thank you, Nicolene. Thanks so much. And thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Andrew. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, and bye from my side, Antonio. Bye.
Cheers, Antonio.
Thanks, Nicolene. The session was very informative. We
Thanks,
appreciate
Joe.
all what you're doing.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Okay, Nicolene, I suppose we'll speak tomorrow.
Yes, thanks, Eric. Thanks for sitting in the whole session. I appreciate it.
No, by all means, thanks for the invite and have a good evening.
Thank you. You too.
Cheers.
Bye. Everybody except for Yolandi is allowed to leave.
I'm still here.
Thank you, Yolandi.
Thanks, Nicolene. Thank you very much. Sorry, I logged on so late, but thanks very much. We'll be in conversation going forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Crane. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, we still have a few. I know Andrew sometimes joins with more than one device, and then Sibusiso, Kenny, and Jock. Yolandi, how do I export the chat?
Okay, Nicolene, so I saved it, but I can always show you as well. If you go into the chat, right?
Okay.
And you make sure you're on everyone there at the bottom.
Okay. Yes.
Then next to the smiley face, you will see it says save chat. But I've also done it, so you will see it's like a notepad document.
Does
But at
it
least we can
download?
see, yeah.
Okay. So I didn't see a lot of EXA CPD being shown on the chat, but I saw that there was a few emails with it.
Yes. So I'll just go through the chats and make sure I've got everyone.
Thanks, Yolandi. Will you also be, I know I'm pushing my luck here, be able to create the database?
Yeah, that's fine. I've already also done the attendance register, Samina attendance register with everyone's EXA numbers.
Thanks, Yolandi. I really